America's workforce. Its strength is our nation's success. Join Ronnie Spellman on I Build America podcast as we explore innovative solutions and inspiring stories from leaders and workers shaping America. Discover actionable insights to build a motivated workforce.
Welcome to the I Build America podcast. We have Martin Garsee with us. Martin, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
You came all the way from Houston, Texas to be a part of the program.
I did.
I love it. So you with the National Association of Publicly Funded Truck Driving Schools. And you're the executive director, essentially the CEO of the operation.
That's correct. I've been in that position since 2009, and it's been really exciting to see the growth and to work with the community colleges, technical colleges throughout the United States that have commercial truck driving programs, CDL programs.
So tell us what it is the group does. So do you partner with the community colleges to build the programs? What exactly do you work within to kind of create that opportunity for CDL drivers? And
we do several things. One is obviously we do networking where, we hold a conference. We have what we call regional meetings throughout the United States in the fall. We just finished them 3 weeks ago. We were in Daytona Beach with our annual conference, and we had about 150 people there.
Nice.
That are in the truck driver training business, either with a technical college system or community college system, depending on what state they're in, is
right.
What system that works in. But we've been around for about 35 years. In the last few years, we've got a lot more involved in helping schools get started, providing information, working with close other organizations on things that, for example, the entry-level driver training, we were a part of that back in 2015.
Okay.
And so the implementation of mandated training through the CDL program was a big shift for a lot of people. And so we were able to help a lot of people through that. We created materials, worked with schools, and all the things that we could do to support our members.
Okay. How many members do you have?
We have 163 members currently.
Okay. All over the country?
Right. We're in 35 states.
Okay. 35 states. Where do you find the biggest concentration of your members? Is it the South or the West? What are you finding with the schools and the programs?
The Northeast, not the far Northeast, but the Midwest. And then, of course, we have quite a few in Texas, Ohio. The West, the far West is the fewest.
Okay.
Quite a few private schools out there. They're just not public schools in the area. The state of Washington has a couple of members, but you get too far west. But most of it, Florida has quite a few schools, Georgia, the Carolinas, that type of thing.
So how does someone set up a school and then become a part of the organization?
Well, schools typically in a community college, and I'll just give you an example. I work for Houston Community College. And so the way the program started there was a need was people kept coming to us. We need CDL drivers.
Right.
So we had other programs, other workforce programs. We had a larger driver education program at that time. And so we were doing some things in training, or driver training, but not the CDL. And this was back in the mid-90s. So people were calling, asking, do you do CDL? Long story short, one of the gentlemen in that program said, hey, let's investigate it. So I was not a part of that in the very beginning, but come along shortly as it was created. So they did a lot of research. Other schools, there was a school in town that had a program, another college, and they were very willing. Community colleges, technical colleges, we're not really in competition with each other like a private business. So we were able to get a lot of information from them and then build our own program. But we got a lot of support from the college because you have to buy equipment. They have to dedicate space to you. So there is a cost up front for that. So you lobby to make sure you get the money, and then you are able to move forward with that. So getting involved in the industry, seeing the need, there in Houston, we do a lot of training for like utility companies, for the city of Houston, for the city of Pasadena.
Oh, interesting.
Plus the open enrollment, and then a few companies.
You don't do any training from the association. This is from the Houston side.
Right.
Right. Okay. Just making sure.
Hey, I apologize.
No,
Let me back up a little bit. So, then in early 2000, probably in 2000, the gentleman that started the program there at Houston Community College found the guys with the National Association of Publicly Funded Truck Driving Schools.
Nice.
So that he started working with them, was elected to the board. I came along, got elected to the board, become vice president, past president, and then become executive director.
Okay.
And so one of the things that kind of brought that along was in 2015, when the entry-level driver training standards were being developed by Federal Motor Carrier, mandated training, they reached out to our organization, and the organization asked me to go and work in D.C. for several months in 2015. We were going every other week for months to go up there and work on the regulation. And so we saw that process through. And with that, I learned a lot. I mean, I could talk to you all day about how regulations, what works, what doesn't work, how slow it is, that type of thing. But I got to really know a lot of guys at Federal Motor Carrier, and they're just like you and I. They work hard at what they do. Sometimes we don't get the results as fast as we'd like to, but they're good at what they do. So it was good that we were, there was 3 of us on that advisory board that actually were involved in the day-to-day training.
Okay.
There was a lot of organizations that had people on that advisory committee, but there was 3 of us there. So we were, I guess you'd say, somewhat the leaders of, okay, this is how we do it. This is what works. This is things that we've tried that doesn't work. So with that put our association, you might say, in the limelight, because we were a part of that initial. So I was invited by a lot of other associations, the cement mixers, the concrete, the different divisions of like refrigerated carriers and stuff like that were interested in how is this going to affect my business? Because a lot of people have depended, especially in rural areas, they depended on training people that worked on the farm that already knew how to drive. Right. So what was this change going to be that was going to be formal training? So our association grew quite a bit during that time because I was out promoting it a lot.
Nice.
And so also the compliance part of if, the people that were running the programs in the community college and technical colleges, they were interested in, okay, what are we doing? We think we're doing a good job, but does it match what the entry-level driver training standards are going to be?
Right.
So we worked a lot with that, created, like I said, a lot of literature. So we are a conduit to build relationships, to network, to help people. I spend probably half of my time with the association talking to schools that are not members a lot of times and their questions. So we're out to make truck driver training a better for our community college and technical colleges. And of course, we want them to be a member.
Right.
But, it's very important that they have a resource to be able to call and talk to, come to our conferences, network. We have people that's been there for training for 20, 25 years. So you're new at what you're doing. You go ask them, okay, what'd you do wrong? What'd you do right? That type of thing.
Now, I've been following truck driving for a long time, and one of the organizations I work, I was responsible for tracking. My team was responsible for tracking the certification process, making sure all the medical records were up to date and all the renewals were done on schedule. It's a big business across the U.S. What are you seeing from a trend perspective? I worked at a telematics firm as well, and at that firm, we saw a lot of changes being made relative to records being kept digitally versus manual records in the truck. And then people were having forced to put in their time and make sure they were taking their breaks. There have been a lot of changes in the past 20 or so years from a policy regulatory standpoint. But what are you seeing from an industry standpoint across the country? What does the need look like? People talk about AI and automation and truck drivers going away and it's going to be driverless vehicles. What are you seeing?
Well, we're talking about this on Monday. Last Monday was the first time that Aurora, which is a autonomous company, had trucks go from Houston to Dallas, from my hometown to your hometown.
I know those Aurora people.
And so, I've got to know those quite well. And, they've been they've been running that route for what, 2 years, 3 years, something like that.
Right.
And so that's such a very small, insignificant piece in the overall puzzle. Now, to me, the equipment and all the IT that they, all the intelligence and everything that they've built into that, it's going to make the truck much safer.
Right.
Is autonomous really going to catch on and going to be a wave of the future? I don't think you or I can predict that at this point. It sounds good. There's a cost savings, I'm sure. Right. But right now the equipment is so expensive.
Right.
And so I think Volvo's truck is over $350,000. That's got the OEM built into it. Sure. And so that's, more than approximately twice the price of a regular truck. So that has to be figured in. The other thing is it's going to be, for as far as even the Aurora people can see and what their feedback is, it's going to be from a terminal to a terminal. So you still got the pickup delivery.
That last mile, right?
Right. And the first mile to get the product. Sure. And so inside the city, the big towns like the Houston, the Dallas, of course, all over the Northeast and stuff, it's probably not going to, it's going to be many years, if ever.
And I'm not a naysayer. I think technology is great. I just don't know how we can place the driver, because you look at so many of the conditions that they have to face to get the product where it needs to go. It's kind of hard. You've got people that are in the way of getting to that dock, right? You have to maneuver around them. And it's just, I think, and I mentioned this from a workforce development, because my assessment is that we're going to need drivers. It's not, drivers are not going away. I know people ask, they're not going anywhere. There's a need for it. There's a need for you and the schools that you're working with.
Absolutely. And what I think will happen is the role of the driver, and you talked a little bit about it earlier, the electronic logging and all the different things. They now you can have a truck that doesn't have mirrors because it's got all these cameras on it, and so many. So the technology is just changed constantly, and so what ends up happening is the technology will continue to make the driver a safer driver. Hopefully, it's an easier job, it'll be a safer job, but it will never replace. So the training probably will continue to change for that truck driver. It's important for us to, in the training industry, to stay ahead of the curve, right, and continue to learn what that is. Who's going to inspect the truck? Who's going to hook the truck up? Who's going to fuel the truck? Right. That type of thing. So there's going to be many jobs. I use this example. My dad, he made the statement that computers was going to take over everyone's job back in whatever the 60s or 70s, whatever year he said that. And today we know that the IT field is so massive, employs millions of people, and they're looking for more. So it created a whole different type of job. Right. And I think that's what we'll see in drivers in CDL. Not everyone will necessarily be driving the truck or will even need a CDL, but the industry will continue to employ millions of people.
How did you get in the industry?
I was working in the driver ed department there at Houston Community College. Okay. And when the switch came and they started the truck driver training, it was kind of interesting. The gentleman worked on it for a couple of years, and it was kind of funny when it opened up. It opened up really slow for about 6 months, and all of a sudden business poured in. And him and I had worked together well. And so he'd asked me to come over to that division. And so I went through the program. I got a CDL. At that point, I still do. I still carry a CDL. We were outsourcing our maintenance and repairs for our trucks. And so we were going almost across Houston, which is kind of a scary thing. But anyway, so I would drive the trucks back and forth and, get them repaired and that type of thing. So, I have a few miles. I've gone to Dallas a few times to trade out trucks and things like that. So I've driven, and I don't drive much anymore, but for a period of time I did, our own equipment there. So I've really grown to love the industry. And I always thought, well, if you don't drive a truck, how can you be involved in it? And I find out that there's so many of us, and the love for trucking has, I look up and I tell this story. I go, I really took that job just to get started. Right. And that was in 1997. And today is 2025, and I'm still working there. So
what were you doing before getting in?
I worked in outside sales, basically.
Okay. Okay.
I had worked in the grocery business and grocery wholesale business.
Okay.
And I was working, I was kind of in the process of changing jobs and was working part-time at the college.
Nice.
And the driver, in the summer, you have a huge teenage driver education department there.
Right.
Currently you don't, but back in the day, it was part of Houston Independent School District.
Right.
And so we had, thousands of students, and it was just a big operation. So I was working there, and it got fall, and they asked me to stay on, and I just, continued to work there and stay with the program, and then migrated into truck driver training, and look up years later, and I'm still there at the college, and I work, college has been very kind to me. I work a lot for the organization. I represent them in many events, and the college, because, you can't really separate who you are. I'm working with a lot of different schools, but I'm also promoting our college.
Right.
And our college there in Houston, we're very fortunate. We have a beautiful facility, and it's fantastic. We have a driving range, backing range. We run over 30 pieces of equipment and teach about 1,000 students a year.
1,000, very cool.
So
now, for people looking at this industry as a possible career choice for them, why you seem to have a passion for it?
I do.
Why should they have a passion for it? I think the industry is fantastic, by the way, but why should someone looking at it have an interest? They don't really understand it. They just know that their products get to the store when they need it. But why should someone look at this as a profession, truck driving?
Well, I'll give you a couple of stories. Years ago, when Governor Bush was governor, before he was president, it was 43.
Yes.
In Texas, he had a program called Welfare to Work.
Yes.
And so we had quite a few people come through that program. But one lady in particular, she was a complainer, so I remember her very well. She was not, but the interesting part was she was the best driver of that class. We had 12, 14 people in that class, and the guys were pretty much intimidated because she picked it up quick.
Nice.
But she was struggling with some things, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. So one day we had what I'll call a come to Jesus meeting, because she was kind of acting up.
Right.
And so I told her, I said, look, you're 2 days from graduating. You need to go home and think about, do you want to throw this opportunity away, or do you want to calm down?
Right.
Go home, calm down, that type of thing.
Right.
So she came back the next day. She went to the Department of Public Safety. She tested. She got her license. She went to work for a company called MS Carriers in Memphis, Tennessee. So I did not see her or anything for a few months. She came back through one day, and she was delivering from Memphis, Tennessee down to Laredo. They were hauling car parts,
right?
Very into Mexico, but they stopped at Laredo. And so she was running with a guy that was in our class. They had gotten married. And so fast forward about 5 years, she came through one day and she said, I want to do something. I want to show you something. I said, sure. So she took out her checkbook. She said, this is my son. This is my stepson. She said, I can afford to pay for them to go to school. I can write you a check. And she did. And so at that point, they had about 5 trucks inside that fleet.
Right.
So they had a small trucking company. The last time I talked to her, which was a few years ago now, they had over 50 trucks.
50 trucks.
They had bought 15 acres. They'd moved to Memphis. They bought 15 acres.
This one lady and her husband had 50 trucks.
They had 50 trucks running it inside. MS Carrier was picked up by Swift, and Swift was the company. But they had that small trucking company. They'd built over a 3,000 square foot house. They had a big barn that they were doing their own had mechanics there.
Wow.
So they built a fantastic business. Both of those people had come through on a Welfare to Work program. Now, we look at that and we're excited that, that exists and all that kind of stuff. But the possibility and the potential, because, when you stop and think about the income that they were making at that point,
yes,
without a college degree, without a lot of, they went out and earned it. No question about it.
I love it.
But it worked. And so my point is you can take and make a very good living. I've been fortunate enough to go to a lot of conferences, see, truck driver of the year for American Trucking Association, truck driver of the year for Texas Trucking Association.
Nice.
And it's people who's got 4, 5, 6 million miles. Had a gentleman stand up one day, 6 million miles. It's hard to believe in his career, accident free.
Oh, wow.
One of our Texas natives, he got up and he had his 3 grown children with him. And he said, truck driving has allowed me, my wife, to stay home and raise our kids. This one is a doctor. This one is an attorney. And this one is an accountant.
I love it.
And so, we like to see people go back in the business, but he was so proud of the fact that he was able to earn without a degree, that type of money to provide for his family.
Right.
And I'm sure he had a nice home too,
Right.
So why am I passionate about it? Because I've seen so many lives changed.
Right. And that's really been the whole purpose for our program, the podcast. There are so many wonderful opportunities like what you just described for people to make a good living, provide for their families, and enjoy the process.
Right.
Like I can't stress that enough for people. And the neat thing as well is the barrier to entry is not huge, meaning that they can afford it.
Right.
There are so many programs that can help, like you mentioned, the Welfare to Work program. There are other incentives and opportunities to get it paid. And then once you get your license and you get the training, you're off on your own. It's really what you want to make it at that point, right?
It is. And, the other cool thing is the Houston Safety Council that I've been a part of for quite a few years, I can go to their monthly luncheon and quite a few of those people there will be safety directors, dispatchers, small fleet owners that came through our program at some point. So it is the entry point. The CDL license is the entry point into so many types of transportation and other jobs.
Yes.
You look at 2 very large companies, Schneider out of Green Bay. You look at Werner out of Omaha.
Right.
1 truck, 1 man.
Oh,
started that.
1 truck,
many
1 man.
Yes, many years ago.
That is incredible.
Started that, and they built it to well over $1 billion a year company. So it provides that opportunity, and I really don't know. I went to a meeting in San Antonio when the Eagle Ford Shale oil, was getting really big back several years ago. And you remember everybody was, there was so many jobs down there and all that stuff. And Alamo College in San Antonio had a symposium, and I went, and there was 4 companies there, and I never will forget this. The 4 companies there were hiring and talking about, the skills that was needed, such as, all the different things they were wanting Alamo College and other colleges to have programs on so that they could, fulfill their workforce and that type of thing. And the 4 major companies that were there were large energy companies. And they said that really the entry to any job except for maybe engineering, that type of thing, is a CDL.
Wow.
And so I'm like, okay, you get to, let's call it the first rung on the ladder.
Right.
So you get to get on the ladder, and what you do with it after that is up to you.
That is,
but at least we can train you to get on the ladder to do the correct thing.
That's amazing.
I got a young man that several years ago, his dad works at the college, PhD, taught physics, the whole 9 yards. His mom is a PhD. All he wanted to do is drive a truck.
Yeah.
So, well, if he ever listens to this podcast, he'll know exactly who I'm talking about. But anyway, he hung around. He was at our campus, and he would come over. His dad would bring him over and wanted to drive a truck. So his dad said, son, when he graduated, go to college and then decide what you want to do. So he did.
Right.
And so the next day walked up to his dad, and he said, I still want to go to truck driving school. So he did. Nice. That's been 9 years ago. He doesn't necessarily want to own a truck. He works for one of the large companies. He's a hauls hazmat.
Right.
And so his W-2s for the last few years have been over 100,000, somewhere between 110 and 120,000.
Wow.
But he works.
That is incredible. And I was getting ready to ask you that, what, for an entry-level new driver to an experienced driver, what seems to be more the normal from an annual compensation perspective?
Yeah, Department of Labor, I think, just changed theirs to $59,000 for entry level.
Okay.
And so most companies are telling you that. And, of course, there's a learning curve. Obviously, when you go to work, we encourage people to go to work for companies who have more training,
Right.
continue the training.
Right.
A person gets out, it doesn't matter what school it is that they go to. Hopefully they go to a good school that's got a long program, teaches them everything that they possibly can in that 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever
Sure.
length that program is. But we encourage them to go to work for a company that continues to train them.
Okay.
My family, your family, our kids,
Right.
more importantly, my grandkids are out there on the road.
Right.
And we want it to be safe. So, that first few months they'll be in a training, and that varies, and it's usually less than what they're being paid.
Okay.
Normal. But once they hit that and they're assigned their, we'll call it their own truck,
Right.
to drive. And so, the interesting thing to me is in certain parts of the country now, people that used to ask for 7 years of driving, like a Walmart,
Right.
7 years of experience, now are hiring people out of school.
Oh, wow.
And continuing to train them in certain parts of the country because of the need.
Sure.
So while the economy's been a little bit slow and certain things are a little bit slow, the need for good drivers is still there.
Okay.
But it's, and it's regional, that type thing.
Sure.
But companies are realizing that the younger generation don't want to be gone from home as much. So you see a lot of your companies, they have a lot of dedicated routes where, it's not necessarily 8 to 5, but it's kind of timetables that you can plan your life around.
Well, and you're right. When I worked at a company that had trucking logistics, they were all local drivers.
Mm-hmm.
So they were home every night versus the drivers that are driving for multiple days across the country. And different people will like different options. But I know we're nearing the end. Walk me through, because I think this is so important. Walk me through the types of driving opportunities that a person might have. So, for instance, you have your big trucks that might require CDL, but then you have a lot of other trucking options. And whether it's delivery of ice cream on one of the trucks or delivery of gas to a person's home, there's so many other options available than just driving the big cross-state trucks for a Walmart, for instance.
Absolutely. There in Houston, we have one of the largest ports in the world. Yes. And so there's a lot of containers. While that's, I guess you call that a big truck, typically the containers are not moved more than a couple of 100 miles, and most of them are just moved to a warehouse and then broken down and then, picked up. Walmart, Home Depot, everybody that is someone has a warehouse there that they break that stuff down and then ship it to their stores. So there's those jobs that just come straight off the port. When you talk about a different classification, well, like your Dollar Tree, your Dollar Generals,
yes.
and the stores on and on and on are using a third party, typically company, a Werner, a Schneider, the U.S. Express, whoever, to deliver those. And then go back to this, like you're talking about, there's gasoline, all the gasoline basically from the end of the pipeline to the service station is by truck. Then there's the Class B, which is a straight truck.
Yes.
And so you have so much of the pickup and delivery. We mentioned the word a while earlier, the final mile.
Yes.
J.B. Hunt and some of those have even gotten into delivery of washers and dryers for, like, as an example, appliances, that type thing. Right. So there's that type of thing. All your groceries that are brought in by truck. Sometimes they use smaller trucks to go to your convenience stores. Right. Everything just about is touched by truck in that final mile.
Absolutely.
And so then you have buses, you have shuttle buses, you have tour buses, the large buses, down to the shuttle buses, school buses, and all that is a commercial driver.
It is. I was surprised to learn that those big RVs didn't require something more than just a regular driver's license.
That's not exactly true.
Okay.
In every state. Right. There is a non-commercial CDL.
Okay.
And so even the state of Texas requires it. It's not pushed quite as much as some of the others.
Gotcha.
But what it is, it's a CDL license where you don't have to have a physical. And then because you're not driving for pay,
right?
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Okay. That's amazing. So if you had to look at some of the policies regarding driving, speaking of needing even for an RV, you helped to write some of the policies, it sounds like. What do you think the policy debate is going today? Do you think anything else is changing anytime soon regarding truck driving that would be of interest in knowing about?
Well, one of the things that just come out, I think it was last week, there was an executive order on wanting or requiring federal motor carrier to enforce the law of English only for a CDL.
Okay.
That's been on the books for years,
Right.
but it wasn't enforced. And so the concept behind that is if a person is involved in an accident on the side of the road or whatever, they need to communicate, especially if it's a hazmat load or something, to communicate that type thing. As far as regulations, with this current administration, the speed limiters that's been on the books for a long time is not going to change much. Most of us would like to see that the drug testing change because there's better methods than what they're using.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
But and so it's important that we have the best. And one of the things that we haven't mentioned, but in the truck driving world, some people think that if they have medical marijuana, then it's okay.
Right.
But no drug is okay in driving a truck.
Okay.
Whether you have a prescription or it's legal in your state or whatever.
Right.
And that's changed the number of people that can qualify to come in a lot of states.
Okay.
So in this administration, I don't think we're going to see a lot of change in regulations. There's some cleanups on a few things, and they up until I think it was the 1st of May, federal motor carrier had asked for, okay, what do you see as a hindrance to business that possibly we could look at?
Sure.
So nothing earth shattering that we know of currently.
That's good to know. Martin, it's been quite a pleasure having you on the program. I love this industry and think it's a great opportunity for so many people. I love the story you mentioned about the couple that were both on a welfare to work program. And now they have a business a few years ago with 50 trucks and they're doing well. And the other that put 3 kids through college and helped them get to their professional career destination. That is really what this is all about, creating a workforce opportunity around the country where people can make a good, honest living and do well for their families.
Right. And there's been virtually no layoffs in the trucking industry.
Nice.
There's been a slowdown, but, people retire. The average truck driver, I think, is still like 55, 56 years old. So we have quite a few, obviously, that's older than that.
Right.
And with medical issues and that type of thing, we're seeing those people retire. So there's, American Trucking Association is still holding to approximately 80,000 needed a year.
I love it.
To fill that. So we have a lot of work to do in the truck driver training business.
I love it. Well, let's keep it going. Let's keep workers coming in and getting them trained properly.
Absolutely.
Getting them ready to put to work.
Do it. Thank you for having me on today.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining the I Build America podcast, where we're helping our country figure out ways to continue to employ people, provide the proper training, and get them ready for work.
Thank you for listening to the I Build America podcast. Please subscribe, share, and comment, and be sure to join us next time for more insights and inspiring conversations on building a powerful American workforce. I Build America, building workforce success one podcast at a time.
I build America.